stay that dark.
It's kind of dark.
We're live.
Hey.
That's what's all right. It's not that dark. Okay. Good. We're never sure about the lighting situation.
I know the lighting situation it's a work in progress.
This is not a professional broadcast studio, in case you haven't noticed. We have it decorated to look like a living room because that's what it is.
That's what it is.
So we're live. We come to you every fortnight. Another video game.
Every 2 weeks.
2-week period. And what are we talking about this fortnight?
This fortnight, we're talking about how to level up your life and embrace your inner sociopathlete.
Okay.
And you're going to talk about what a sociopathlete is, because sociopathlete is two words combined together to create a new word.
Right. So this was the hip and cool thing that, hey, Jose is here. I love Jose. We're international now. We have a live viewer from the Dominican Republic. You're going to get the light? Go get the light while I talk.
You're going to tell them about what a sociopath is
talk about it.
and an athlete and how we brought it together and why we brought it together.
Right. Well, so back in the 90s, it was very cool for companies to merge two names together. You got like Exxon Mobil and so forth. Enron, I don't know if that means, but I think it was two words put together. The point is that a lot of having a company with a single name is difficult to do because it just doesn't, every name's taken. So when we were brainstorming ideas for the company and what we wanted to do in our mission statement and so forth, we combined two words together that we thought had meaning separately that was significant, and then you bring them together and they have even more meaning. She's looking for an outlet. This is going to be our broadcast.
Go for it. Sarah Beth, talking about you need to tell them. You were the brainchild. Like we were talking about it, and then all of a sudden you were like,
"No, I'm the brain."
You just went.
The name is the brainchild. So let's talk about that. Two words. You put them together, and they become a newer, more awesome word. And there's a couple. I've already talked about the first reason why we do this. The second reason, though, is that what you want to be able to do is define yourself, create your identity and define it. And when you do this, then you own that. So because we created the word sociopathletic, we get to define it. We get to own that. That's ours. Trademarked. We filed the LLC. Nobody else gets to tell us what a sociopathlete is. We get to make that up. So with that in mind, looking at the roots of the word, the sociopath. Sociopathy is defined as a personality disorder marked by a failure to conform to social norms, reckless behavior, aggression, and a lack of remorse. Some would even say a lack of ethics or moral compass or morality. I like it.
That sounds fun.
Well, that does sound fun. So, and the reason why we like that word is because in today's modern era, if you have old school values, if you do things like things were done back in the day, you're actually contrarian. Getting up early in the morning, working hard, working on your fitness, watching your diet, putting the cookie down. These are all things that society tells you not to do. So you could rightly be labeled as a sociopath simply for behaving like somebody might have behaved back in the 1890s or in the 1950s or even the 1980s. Those values have been tossed aside for a new brand of political correct behavior that we do not subscribe to. So,
well, there's no accountability.
Right.
There's no accountability to put the cookie down. Like it's okay to.
Everything is somebody else's fault. You can blame the patriarchy. You can blame your opposing political party.
You can redefine what beauty is.
You can demand acceptance for your deranged behavior, for your unhealthy lifestyle. You can basically, and then you can ask for somebody else to take care of you. The government has to give you a set income. The government has to give you health care. The government has to give you this, that, and the other thing, because the government is your big brother now. So we reject that. We projectile
going back
vomit
to
all over that idea.
Sociopath piece
So
of it.
that's the sociopath piece of it. Is now the athlete piece of it is, obviously when we think of athleticism, we think of physicality. But a sociopath. Finish.
I
Can
get
I finish?
I get a
You
little
guys remember Ross Perot? Can I finish?
I get a little excited
Dana
about the
Carvey, yes and no.
competition
Can I
side of it.
finish?
I get
Can
a
I finish?
yes.
Okay, so yes, athletes are by and large competitive. An athletic competitor is not always competing against a person. Oftentimes you have competition where you're just competing against a clock, which means you're competing against yourself. And ultimately, that is the part of the of athleticism that we are focused on, is that we have an abundance mindset. We're not trying to crush anybody else except our enemies. But everybody can be a sociopathlete. There is plenty of room at the table for more sociopathletes. And your biggest competition, your only real competition, is yourself. So what we are telling you is to be a nonconformist, be aggressive, be reckless even.
Have unrealistic expectations.
Define your own ethics. In other words, what you would call a high functioning sociopath is not somebody that is completely amoral, but is somebody that doesn't necessarily subscribe to the moral norms of society. Well, the moral norms of society today are drastically different than they were, 50, 100, even 10 years ago. So it's okay to say, we're going to redefine this and apply our own moral code, as long as it is an ethical code, as long as it is consistent.
And be slightly unconventional.
And be unconventional, but be competitive about it, and be about making yourself the best version of yourself. So that's the definition. That's what it means. And we wanted to clarify this because some people have asked, some people haven't bothered to do the reading assignment, which is you can go out to our website and read all of this in our manifesto and in the blog post that's titled The Elevator Pitch. Those two articles on the sociopathletic.com will explain all of this to you, probably more coherently than I just had, even though I wrote it. While you're there, stop by the shop, buy a t-shirt, help us out a little bit. Books available there too. The t-shirts are awesome. They are badass.
They're so soft.
And yeah, you got to get in on that. So what do you got next for us here? I've rambled enough, and you've taken care of the lighting, although
I know it's not going really well.
Maybe one of those like umbrella things.
So we need a halo light, but we're not at that point yet. You're not
angelic enough to work.
We're not. Whoa, that's one of my roles. Being angel is one of my roles. Okay, so we talked a little bit about what a sociopathlete is, but how does that manifest in or in practice? Like, how does that look in practice? So I talk
Our
about
Lord and Savior Jesus Christ just appeared in the chat.
Oh, hello, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Also, if you guys, anybody in this chat, you can find them on Twitter. Support them. Support what they're doing. This man does a little live stream himself. He's a game streamer, and he's played with me and my son, and he's awesome. And he's Canadian. I know we're all international. Holy cow! It's an all international chat. If you're in the U.S., you're not allowed to talk in the chat right now. You got to be Canadian, Dominican, and I don't know who else is there. We get some Europeans in there somewhere, I'm sure.
Well, it is kind of late for them. So I talk about 7 different roles that I play in my daily life, and I wanted to talk about how I try to embrace being a sociopathlete in these roles.
Okay.
So one of the roles is matriarch, and we were talking a little bit about this. And I'm a mom of one. I have a son his name is Isaac, and he's autistic, nonverbal, takes a lot of advocacy. And I'm very unconventional in the way that I mother him and advocate for him. And I go against the norms. I do appreciate you pushing me out of my comfort zone with him and such. But I do troll. And so that's the way that I up my game and hold myself to unrealistic expectations. Like, I have apps in my head that I would love to build for advocacy. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on in my head around it. And I hold myself to these expectations that I'm never going to meet. But I have moms that I've run into that I talk about what I do, and they see what I do and they go, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do this and all the other things that you do. And you work in corporate 40 hours a week plus, how do you do all this? If someone is saying to you, how do you do it all? And I couldn't do what you're doing. And, I'd like a little bit of what you do. you're being a sociopathlete.
You're on the right track because you're exceptional.
You're exceptional. You're holding yourself to unrealistic expectations. You're exceeding other people's expectations. But let's be honest. Most people keep expectations pretty low.
Well, we live in a society that rewards mediocrity. So
right, and we're not about mediocrity.
I don't think most people that follow us are about mediocrity either. So this is the right audience for this. So you want to touch on some of these other roles?
Athlete.
Okay.
So
you're a sociopathlete athlete.
I'm a sociopathlete athlete. That is kind of funny. But the way that I up my game and keep things being unrealistic expectations, signed up for a half marathon right when my Derby season started. And I am in Derby. There are people who
roller derby.
Roller derby. Sorry,
that are new to the program.
Not
she competes
cars.
in roller derby. That's
roller derby.
The girls that on roller skates that wear helmets and pads and beat the crap out of each other. So, so that's what she does. She's in mid-season for that right now, and you signed up. So in what, 4 more weeks we have a half marathon. I have a 5K because I am the Gimli of the household. I'm dangerous over short distances. I don't do half marathons.
And people think I'm crazy.
It is crazy.
I'm doing derby, right. and I'm training for a half marathon. I somehow work it all into my schedule.
You're a sociopath.
But yeah, it does kind of make me a sociopath. That's funny. That is funny how that works.
So, what is your training schedule like for this?
Well, I run 3 miles a week, about four times.
So you're running 12 miles a week.
So 12 miles plus a long run.
You're running 4 days a week, or for 5 days a week?
1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 days a week.
5 days a week. And how many days a week do you have roller derby practice?
2 days.
Oh, so how many days is that total?
7.
7. How many days are in a week?
7.
Every day, all day. So be like Jocko. Get up in the morning at 4:30 in the morning and train every day, unless you're dying.
There certainly are days that I have to get up super early to do my run.
Yep.
And I try and work it around when I don't have my son in the morning, because I do share custody of him. But again, I hold myself to, people say to me, how do you do that? How do you run? How do you do derby? How do you fit that all in? Well, I've made it a priority, and I have the support system that allows me to. And at derby, I'm not the best, but I'm okay. I'm okay. And I look to the women who have been there 7, 8 years, and I'm like, well, I can't do that. I can't jump the apex. I don't know if I'll be able to jump the apex, but it's something I try. I don't know. It's like when you're going around the circuit, it's an oval track.
It's like NASCAR on roller skates.
And you're going around the track, and to get around your opponent,
you got stickers with sponsors all
you
over.
jump over the corner to cut them off so that they can't block you. But you have to clear the entire thing. You can't.
The penalty box a lot. It's not even a lie. Like, I've actually watched some of her bouts, and she's easily the most penalized person on either team.
We had to raise our hand at practice the other day how many times we were penalized in the game. I was the last one.
You don't have enough hands.
I was the last one standing.
You only got 2 hands, and you
she's like,
box like 17 times.
4? I'm like,
so that means she's aggressive. That means she's antisocial.
And it's a game. Like, I'm going to take my opponent out.
But it's competitive.
It's very competitive.
If you're not first, you're last.
If you're not first, you're last.
I want to go fast.
So those are 3 of the roles, 3 out of the 7 roles. Again, holding myself to unrealistic expectations, unconventional methods, and always trying to up my game. I'm always looking at my roles and figuring out, how do I up my game?
I have a question. Where can people learn more about these roles?
Oh, at our blog.
On our blog. So also on sociopathletic.com. I'm not the only one that writes out there. The lovely Sarah Beth writes out there as well. And
you can tell who wrote what.
Peruse through her articles, and you can find out more about these 7 roles that she's created.
We have slightly different writing styles.
Slightly. Maybe.
Just a little bit.
I use big words.
Well, you're very philosophical.
I am very philosophical.
It's
I'm
pretty
the world's
sexy.
first savage philosopher. So what else we got?
Okay, so looking at the 7 roles and how you can be a sociopathlete. So if in your life, if people come to you and say, I don't know how you do it, you're probably a sociopathlete.
Right.
Or I don't know how you fit it all in the day. Or they look to you and they gravitate to you. So some of the women that I encounter, they gravitate to me and they ask me for advice. They want to tell me their problems. They want to hear what I have to say. All of that is because they look at me and they say, she keeps on excelling. She keeps on holding herself to high expectations. I want to be like that. She's got so much confidence. They see all of that and they want it. And honestly, that is leveling up your life. And that is being a sociopathlete. So that's what it looks like in practice in the 7 roles I was talking through. And so that's kind of what I have outlined. But how do you live sociopath as a sociopathlete in your life?
I wasn't prepared for this question.
I'm not throwing you under the bus. This is something you think about all the time.
Well, so it is something I think about all the time. So the reality is that we both have full-time corporate jobs. We both have part-time parenting of our children. We both have this side business and many other ventures that we're trying to get off the ground. Me personally, I do a lot of writing, working on books in addition to the first book that I just published late last year, and working on, I'm not training for a marathon, but I do try to, get up in the morning, work out every day. These are things that people used to do normally all the time. And now it's like exceptional. There's the plug for the book there.
Yep.
Hey, do you have a copy of that book? If you don't, let me know. DM me your address. I'll send you an autographed copy, just because you're being a good sport in the chat. I'll even pay for the Canadian postage.
Don't forget to talk about the way you level up your parenting.
I think that's a phrase that you coined. In your case, Attica is autistic, and you've got to meet him where he's at.
Yep.
And that means you've got to bring the game to him in a lot of cases. In my case,
put him in uncomfortable situations,
yeah, and you got to push him.
Which is for any kid, really.
It's the same for any kid, and every kid, honestly, is on a spectrum of development one way or the other.
Yep.
Autism, it's a little more obvious in some cases, but every kid is moving along at his own pace, and it's your job to push them and to maximize the pace that they're moving at. And it's your job to find the things that they are passionate about and find a way to make them productive. So as our friend Mr. Bryce has seen, my oldest son likes to play Fortnite, likes to play video games. And so we've encouraged him to okay, well, how can you monetize that? How can you make that into something productive? How can you learn a skill from that? Even if he doesn't become like the next ninja and be this guy makes $500,000 a month.
Okay,
broadcast.
not everybody knows who Ninja is.
Okay, well, he's a famous Google ninja. You'll see him, blue-haired goofball, makes $500,000 a month broadcasting Fortnite. Okay, I don't get it, but it's obviously working. There's a whole industry for this. Okay, so, but what is this guy learning? Even if he's not making a nickel, the fact that he has a social media audience in the millions, the fact that he is live on camera every single day for several hours a day, and the fact that he is working with other people, not only to run his business, but even just to play his video game. He's learning all kinds of valuable life skills while he's playing his video game. So if I can talk to my son and say, hey, do like this, then even if he doesn't become a famous, wealthy streamer, well, he's learned all of these skills: how to network, how to run a business, how to present himself live on television or on a camera. And the ability to speak in public and present yourself is a very valuable skill, because we're moving into a time and place where soft skills, people skills, are going to be very, very valuable, because we have whole generations of people that basically don't know how to interact with other people, because all they interact with is a screen all day long. this guy's killing it in the chat. Seriously.
So he is a different kid online.
He is. He's more confident. He's more outgoing. He's more gregarious. His vocabulary is more ebullient, and it's fun to watch. Now, and my daughter's the same way. Not with video games, but she has things that she is passionate about. She likes doing arts and crafts. She likes making slime. She likes painting. She likes doing all of these things. She's in the FFA. All of these things that she does. It's like, okay, find a way to monetize this, or find a way to make a business of it, because then you learn the basic skills. Even if a business.
I want to make sure to come back to the part. I want to make sure to come back to the part about leveling up your parenting. So what Franklin is doing, but Noble is, I'm sorry, I call you.
That's everybody knows my name.
Everybody knows your name.
Noble is my name. It's my name.
It is
a pen name, so it's not like I'm faking it.
You're not faking anything.
I don't have to fake anything.
I know. It's all real.
It's all real.
So I just want to pause for a second, because although you're saying like we can monetize this and we can do it and these are good skills, as a parent, you are studying your kids, you are meeting them where they're at, you're playing a game that you wouldn't normally play, and you're studying your kids to figure out. Actually, you have figured out your niche, but you have figured out how to connect to them and get them to think bigger about the skills they're learning. That's how you level up parenting.
Well, and that's how you, and in my case, that's how I have to do long distance parenting, because my kids don't even live in the same state as I do. So it's, you have to think creatively. We talked a few episodes ago about like the need to monitor, internet usage and so forth. That's another thing you need to do to level up your parenting game, because there are predators online, and I have found a way to pretty effectively monitor and block any incoming threats, even from 1,000 miles away. And it's not hard to do. So, and if you have questions about that, anytime, 100% happy to help you out with it. If you're not sure what your kids are doing online, whether it's with their tablets, their cell phones, their Xbox, whatever, believe me, I've been there and I know how to fix it for you. So feel free to reach out. So yeah, but like you said, the important thing is to find what they're good at, find where they're at, spend time with them in that space, because then you get to know their whole circle, and you get to know what they're into, and you can relate to it.
Like, you hang out with him and his friends,
right?
Online,
and that's important as well. And you got to know, like, your kids aren't going to talk to you if you're not interested in what they're interested in, and that's the reality of it. If your kids come to you and they're like, hey, I saw this thing, and like, okay, I don't care. No, you have to care.
You do. Like,
I get all kinds of YouTube videos that have funny memes in it. My daughter is into watching Supergirl on the CW. I keep up with that, and it's because, okay, that's where she's at. She likes a certain type of books. So guess what? I went out and I found the author of the books that she likes on Twitter, reached out to her as a fellow author and said, hey, my daughter loves your books. That made the author's day. She loved that. And then she was happy to say, hey, here's some other books that she can read if she likes these, and she's all done reading them. So things like that. I mean, it's going the extra mile to be that exceptional parent, as much as you can, because you've only got one shot at this. Your kids are going to be grown.
You have to build the foundation when they're young, and as soon as they get to high school, you start to see how strong your foundation is, and that's
it's one thing that I liked. That was a message that they talked about in church this Sunday, was having that foundation, because even if your kids get lost, when they will return to that. They will go back to the basics. They will go back to the blocking and tackling that you taught them early on, and you got to make sure that those fundamentals are sound, because that's what they're going to need when things get hairy and you're not around to help them out. So do that.
I just wanted to talk about how Sociopathlete looks like in your life, in your roles. And I think we've hit some roles from your side and some roles from my side.
Well, the idea was to give a brief overview, but there will be more extended reading to do on this topic later. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Was that you?
Oh, we watched The Big Lebowski.
There were a few parts of that were really good, and then the rest of them were like, what is it? Why is this movie?
And in all honesty, I got The Big Lebowski mixed up with what was that bowling movie?
Kingpin.
Kingpin. I kind of
That
got
one I had
those.
seen.
I kind of got those two
Woody
mixed up.
Harrelson.
But
The dude abides, yes. Well, that's
the
just like your opinion, man.
the-
So, so thank you for that. But I'll look into Artemis Fowl. I don't know anything about that. I've heard of it, but I haven't read it. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to check that out next. So thank you for the recommendation. If you guys have anything else for us, questions, recommendations, comments, feedback, hit us up with it. And we appreciate the support as always. And if you do get a chance, check out the sociopathletic.com/shop. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money putting into developing the t-shirts.
trying to get something soft.
It's
And
you'd be surprised
comfy.
how many crappy t-shirts there are.
Oh my gosh.
So we got the good ones out there. So there's a few out in the wild now, so you can ask around and people will